We had this joyboard. The joyboard was a peripheral that was used to create games where you would use your whole body rather than just a joystick. It was a peripheral that you would stand on, and the regular joystick input, left, right, forward, backward, instead of being created with a joystick, would be created by standing on the joyboard and leaning forward, backward, left, or right on that, which would allow us to create all sorts of games. For instance, the classic of them all was the downhill skiing game, which you could play by standing on the joyboard, and by leaning on it you could create the same effect as skiing downhill. You know, always have a lot of fun with the joyboard, and we were always making jokes about it. And one of the jokes that we made was that we would use this board when we were working on the Amiga. We would use it to calm ourselves by playing a game that we then said someday we're going to publish and make available to everyone. It was called the Zen Meditation Game, where instead of having an exciting action game, with the Zen Meditation Game, you would sit on the joyboard in Zen Lotus style, and your object was to not move at all, to achieve perfect peace and stillness and not move in the least. And the idea was, you know, what a ridiculous game this would be. We said that you would get bonus points if you reached a state of nirvana while playing the game. But the fun thing about it was that was originally the joke, the Zen Meditation Game. And we would say that we would use the game while we were working on bugs in the Amiga operating system, and we would sit on the joyboard and go into a state of Zen meditation and contemplate what was the problem with our source code. We would meditate upon it. And this turned into the Guru Meditation number that was the thing that you would see whenever the Amiga would crash. It was the evolution of one idea to the next. That crashed Amiga Guru Meditation number came from all of that. And a little interesting bit of trivia. At the time, before Amiga, my favorite CPU was the 6809, which was the CPU that we had used at Williams. And the Guru Meditation number, when that error would come up, as you might remember, some of you have probably seen it very recently, would be all of a sudden the screen would drop down and there'd be a red border that would blink on and off while the text was displayed in the middle. And the code that would blink that border on and off, it would actually render the border over and over again in red, and then render it over and over again in black. And the number of times that it would render it was 6809. It would render it 6,809 times in red, and then 6,809 times in black. And that was the timing, and the timing was just perfect. Of course, it wouldn't work with later Amigas when they changed the clock speed, but back then it was great.
And I programmed on the IBM PC. And when I crashed my IBM PC, the screen went dark, and it would reboot sometimes, or you'd have to turn it off, actually, and turn it back on. And about that same time, Macintosh, was coming out, and they had this little bomb. You know, I'd heard about their little bomb that came up on the screen. I thought, that's kind of interesting, coming up with some sort of indication that your software failed, that your machine failed. And I sat down and I thought about it, and I thought, you're going to have a sense of humor. You know, if your machine fails like this, it's like, and you've lost 2 hours worth of editing, you're going to want to laugh about this somehow. So we put it in there. The machine crashed then for Martin Shabilsky, I think, in his office. The machine crashed, and he saw this thing come up. It said Guru Meditation. And he said, what is this? You know, take this out right now. And so I took it out, and it said software failure. And all of a sudden, so a new version of the system went out that said software failure. And everyone was like depressed. Well, it was like, put the Guru Meditations back in. And so, without permission, we just put it back in.
That's right. All the developers, what did you do? It's a software failure. What is that? So, yeah, we just put it back. We didn't ask. We just did it.
I can remember one of the first the large users group meetings I went to, where people would go up there and they'd show their programs, their software that they wrote in front of the group. And of course, whenever it would crash, the guru meditation would come up and everyone would be chanting, Guru, Guru, Guru. Now, they wouldn't be chanting, software failure.